There we go. Now you can talk. Okay, skipjack.
Do the periscopes have fairings on them? I couldn't find any pictures or anything about fairings for the periscopes.
I think so. I'm 90% sure that they've got the faired, like the teardrop, like.
I know what you're talking about, but every picture I've seen of any of all the classes, I hadn't been able to see it. That's why I was going to ask David, because even on the model, it doesn't seem to have any fairing in the model on it. Just, use the piece of metal on it.
This is off of my model.
Yeah, it's just the metal. Just there's no fairing on it.
Well, what do you mean by fairing?
I'm sorry, I keep pointing at like you. The gray, what you're camouflaging, the polka dotted things.
These here.
Yeah.
They're just like wing shaped.
Yeah, it's just to prevent it from being broken or bent from going too fast. But I hadn't been able to see any picture. I mean, on the sturgeon class, on the Russell, we had them, but like I say, I hadn't seen any pictures of any of the skipjack classes with fairings around the periscopes.
I am not the expert in that regard. Merriman or someone else in the know is going to need to chime in.
Yeah, I think he's trying to connect his audio or something.
No, he's playing a computer game.
Oh yeah. Trying to figure out a 3D print.
While David's trying to connect, I have a question for Ed on your Blue No Beetle thing. When you connected the LED to the Beetle, did you use a resistor at all?
Yeah. It's a 5 volt. I could find it's in my schematic somewhere. I could find the value for that. Yeah. Even though it's 5 volt, you still got to do the voltage dropping in there.
Right. Okay. Because I think on the video that you had, I didn't see a resistor on there. It looked like the LED was connected directly to the digital pins.
No, I think it's one of those. I'm 99% sure that it's one of those Amazon special LEDs that work from 3 volt to 12 volt.
Okay.
They'll use the same. That's built in up at the top of it's in shrink tubing at the top by the LED itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it'll work with any of those amber or yellow LEDs that you can buy off Amazon. I forgot what it was. Unfortunately, you get like 50 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah, I use these micro size, the Lintz LED.
Yeah.
Okay. I use those, and I was going to use a CL2N3. It's a LED driver, but
okay.
But when I use that off the digital pin, the LED is like really dim. It's not it's full brightness, so there's a drop there that I haven't been able to figure out.
Well, all you have to type in is just get the voltage drop, all the specs on that LED, and just Google LED calculator and just plug in the numbers. It'll tell you the resistor size that you're gonna need.
The thing that it's like a transistor. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, that's the LED driver?
Yeah, the LED driver. It's
I think
output of 20 milliamps.
Okay, so you have 2 leads on that device, right?
Right.
You have one's an input, one's an output, right?
Right.
But you're already coming in at 5 volts off the pin 6, so it's already dropping it quite a bit.
Okay.
I would think. And then whatever the driver's using. That's why I'd rather you go with a resistor.
Yeah, I'll have to try a resistor. Thanks,
I even bought, you're talking about the little surface mount LED?
Yeah.
Little tiny. Yeah, I bought them with resistors on them as well.
Here, you can see, I got that encased, 2 LEDs encased in epoxy.
So,
by the way,
before we go any further, I wanted to mention, because this was brought up to me by a customer and a lurker here at the DiveTribe. We're going to do something a little bit different. I alluded to this in the email. We're going to, in say maybe like 15 minutes or so, we're going to set some dedicated time aside for beginners and those with like any sort of like basic questions. Like no question is too stupid. Everybody's been where you're at, but that time is going to be set aside specifically for beginners. I want to make sure that these poor guys are not getting lost in the background, and I think that's actually happening. We people who've been doing this for a while tend to dominate the conversation. So we need to take a step back from time to time and let these newbies get the value of the DiveTribe. So we'll cue that up for, you know, like 15 minutes from now, after we vet some pent up questions and that kind of stuff. So there you go. That'll turn you back to our regularly scheduled program. Dave disappeared, didn't he? He was here and then he died. I guess we're not going to know that. Hey, Mike.
How's everyone doing today?
Doing good. How are you making up with your Type 7?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
How are you making out with your Type 7?
I don't know, Bob. You're breaking up real bad. Hey, let me move. Maybe I'm in a bad location.
Okay. Can everybody else hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
All right.
You're fine. It's Mike who's breaking up on this end.
Okay, let's try this. Is that better?
Sounds better to me.
Okay, I understand you now.
I will if you're important. Thank you. All right, I just asked you how your Type 7 was coming along. You did such an awesome job on that folder. Vaughn is like completely in love with it. And I'm anxious to see how your Type 7 is coming along with the same treatment.
Well, it's coming along. I have nicknamed it Goliath because this thing is huge. Steve did a phenomenal job of building it. It's going to be pretty cool. Right now, working on a cylinder for it, trying to get everything figured out how it works. The whole thing bolts together. So there's going to be some bolting, gluing, and cutting happening. Right now, it's all bolted together, but it's going to be good. Right now, dry with the parts put together, it weighs 30 pounds without the torpedoes. Kind of gives you an idea how massive this thing's going to be.
Yeah, so that, just for everybody, I was talking about that Type 7. That was going to be your next big project, but you shifted to the Seehund, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So he's got that massive Seehund. It's like 1/6 scale or something crazy like that Steve Hodges 3D printed for him. Have you guys seen the pictures of it? Like on Facebook? It's huge. It's huge. It's like this big around.
Yeah, it's like I believe it's like 76 inches long, and I think it's 11 inches beam, and like I said, it weighs 30 pounds. So it's a pretty massive boat. It's going to be 3 different sections. Steve did a phenomenal job of printing. It took I think 17 or 18, I forgot which one, spools of filament, and it took, I think, a quote of continuous printing for 93 days, like 1,700 and something hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
What's the math on that amount of spools as far as cost? 17, what are they, like 30 bucks a spool?
Well, it depends where you get it. Like 25 is on average.
Okay. Times 17 is the cost of that hull. I'm just putting that out there.
Plus, that's not taking into account wear and tear on your printer, 1,700
Right.
hours of print time.
Yep.
And you know, the thing is, I mean, you know, if you 3D print parts, you know, you put something on the print, you can't just put it on the print and leave it. I mean, I'm sure he was up many nights in the middle of the night checking to make sure something was still printing, or you know, hadn't run out of filament and stopped or something like that. So he had to put in a massive amount of time to do this. And I really appreciate his efforts.
Yep, that's gonna be a beastly boat. I'm looking forward to it. You know, the whole 3D printing thing, as much as Dave hates it, you know, is coming in. I just finished my first full resin 3D print. This is for a customer. This is the Nautilus from my 3D files, but this is instead of 96 scale, we scale it up to 72nd scale. And this is all resin, the whole thing.
Yeah, to give you a reference, you may can, you know, relate to the torpedoes, which are on the outside of slung outside the hull. The body of the torpedoes are 3-inch PVC pipe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can find a picture for everybody. They have to see this.
So the fidelity of the print on the resin was much better than the string printer.
It is, but the thing actually that I like more about it is the resin is far easier to post process. It sands beautifully. You know, the PLA, it like melts and it like gets kind of like hairy, and it's hard to you know, sand and fill. So this stuff is just, it sands like butter. And Jason spent, I think, a couple hours outside, you know, 100 grit and then 400 grit, and it's the surface is like glass. It's beautiful.
So did you print it on your Anycubic or something else?
On the Anycubic, yep. Yeah, it was 11 hull sections.
How many hours?
Each section is about 10, so it's about 110 hours of print time. Trying to find.
So could you slice that in such a way if you were going to build a bigger boat?
Well,
Could you slice it in such a way so that you could do?
Yeah, if you build it bigger,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
the Z height increases along with the X and Y. So you need to make sure that your build volume is big enough to support it. I built it on my little Mono X, and it was pushing the, you know, the build, I think the Y size.
But you did a full circle. You did a
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah.
If I was to cut that in half.
Oh yeah, totally. You could, absolutely, you could. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I still haven't even turned it on yet, so I'm gonna have to do that.
I ordered the new, what's it called, the 3 Pro or whatever, 3 Pro Max or whatever, the one of the really big print volume, but they're backed up. They're just saying it'll ship out sometime this month. They're not going any further than that.
I see.
Mike, I'm trying to find your.
Yeah,
I just
printed the ass
texted
in my
you about
surgeon with that printer.
Yeah, that's right. That was printed on that printer. Yeah.
Bob, I just sent you a text with it in it.
By email. I don't see nothing. All right, it's clogged up in the internet arteries. We'll keep our eyes out for it. Hey, before I forget, in case you haven't seen, I've started a new series of videos, the RC Sub School. It's not oriented towards people who've been doing this for a long time. It's oriented towards people who have no exposure to the hobby. I'm using my book as the basis from like an outline perspective, but I'm going to be going way deeper into each one of the chapters. And the idea behind this, the first chapter, which is just basically FAQs about the RC sub hobby, is open for everybody. It's on YouTube. I just posted, I think, this morning. But all the rest of them are only for DiveTribe members. So that series will be posted on the DiveTribe homepage. And so if you ever are bored and you want to take a look at what's getting cranked out, they'll be posted there, and you can take a look at them. So just heads up as some light watching material if you're really, really, really bored. And I posted, by the way, the overview video of a shear line Trafalgar with an OTW cylinder. That one turned out pretty good. The overview itself maybe is a little dry, but we tried out our new drone. We got some really cool footage of the trial at the pond, including a near miss with a gigantic sea turtle.
Bob, I sent you a text message with a picture of the boat in it. If you can pull that up.
Well, how am I going to put a text message on the computer screen?
You want me to email it to you right quick?
I will figure this out.
Now you sound like me.
I got no text.
David,
While Bob's doing that and we have quiet air, I have something I'd like to show everybody.
Yeah.
That's okay. This is kind of a tribute to you, Bob, since you were the one that showed us what you could do by reskinning a Neptune.
Oh, cool. There's a picture.
I'd like you to meet the DSRV 69,
Nice.
the new London.
Oh, I love it. Looks good.
Taught me a lot of, I wanted to actually demo it for its first trial in the pool, but that'd be a little problematic right now, especially since pool guys cleaned in the pool. But that was one of that's one of the reskinning projects. Thought it came out pretty cool. A lot of 3D printing and
did you
sequential
swap out
paint.
the tower and everything, or did you just repaint what was there?
No,
Oh, there you go. Yep.
3D printed the scope.
Nice.
After this show, I'm gonna go drop it in the pool and see if it sinks.
There, I got Mike's picture. So here's a license plate in the background, if that gives you an idea of scale. Boy, that is smooth. Like that looks like a fiberglass hull. That's beautiful.
Yeah, Steve did a phenomenal. I mean, the finish is very, very good. And what you're looking at is raw product. I mean, that hasn't even been sanded yet.
Well, it's the beauty of printing something that's like 10 feet long is the striations are like a minuscule percentage of the overall length. So you can get away with a lot more.
You're right.
That's beautiful. I'm excited. I'm a little bit jealous.
David, I got a question for you. The skipjack class, did the periscopes have fairings on them?
The search periscope did. The attack scope, I don't think so.
Okay. I couldn't find any pictures of fairings on them, and been doing some casting, and there's none in the model, so I was just gonna figure out whether I need to make some or not.
I think the search periscope was either a Type 5 or a Type 8.
Okay.
And the attack was probably a 2F.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, on the topic of boats and 3D printing, I wanted to share this with you guys too. I'm super excited about this. So this is done in conjunction with Randy Sanders. We just finished this up. So this is our new, what I'm calling the blue water boat. This is our new line of entry-level submarines for the beginner in mind. This is our easy driver in here, inspired by Dave Merriman's idea of a universal cylinder with no ballast system inside. This one actually has enough real estate inside it though that I'm going to be putting a peristaltic bladder ballast system option in it for people with these smaller boats. And I wanted to show you, this is basically what it is going to look like. These hull sections you can add as many as you want. There's some with the built-in deck on the top and some with no deck on top. There's 2 different tower options. We were gonna have a test of this yesterday, but our transmitter battery died and we didn't end up able to do it. This is gonna be a freaking rocket. We tested it on the bench, and I mean, this thing is throwing wind out from like 4 feet away that you can feel on the bench. So it's going to be a rocket under the water. What we're hoping to do is introduce people to the fundamentals of RC submarine construction without the complication of, like ballast systems. So this is be a dynamic diver. If you look in the back here, the control surfaces are all aft of the propeller. So this thing will turn around in like probably 3 feet. And so it'd be perfect for pool operations. I'm super excited about this. So probably next week we'll have it tested and get the first one out there. And then the overarching idea is to make this as cheap as possible. So I'm hoping to have a complete kit, everything that you need, flotation foam and ballast and all of that stuff. The parts for less than $700, and it would be significantly less than that if you 3D print your own hull. So this hopefully will kind of take the place of like a Neptune without the same functionality that a multi-million-dollar corporation can offer. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait a few years before we're at that point. But yeah, I'm excited about this. It's a neat boat. It was an easy build, and it was actually a ton of fun. It's the kind of thing you could build over the course of like a weekend and get it in the water. So hoping to get some new blood into the hobby.
Ernie should check the chat screen.
I need to check the chat screen.
Ernie,
Oh,
but
Ernie.
you might be interested in too. It answers his question.
There you go. Nice. All right, as I mentioned, for those of you that, I gotta make sure I click the right thing here. I gotta get rid of this. There we go. I wanna make sure from this point forward that we allocate some time for every DiveTribe meeting for newcomers, newbies, beginners, whatever you wanna call them. This is your time. No question is too stupid. You have the collective intellectual resources, which could fit probably into a shot glass, but we'll do the best to answer them. Questions that you have, projects that you're working on, problems that you're encountering. This is your time to shine. And please, please, please don't be embarrassed. There's no silly questions. Every single person here has been where you're at. And we want to make sure that eventually you are, as queued up and knowledgeable about this hobby as everybody else is. So take it away. Or hey, if you don't want to, here's just one more. If you don't want to talk, if you don't want to show up on the camera, shoot a text to me. The little chat on the bottom. Click chat and type your question, and that way you'll be like anonymous. People won't even need to know who you are. How's that sound?
Can you hear me, Bob?
Okay.
I can hear you.
I've got a question, Bob, or the group. I'm looking at getting into the brushless motors. I've got a project that I'm doing on my Alpha now, and I'm using the 750 kW. After you've run this in the water, let's say one time, what do you need to do to that motor, afterwards? afterwards? I mean, do you have to give it some oil of some sort, or do you just let it dry out and hope it works for the next time, or?
So in my mind, it all depends on how anal you want to be. I think best practice, and anybody who's an expert in this can chime in and override me, but I would blow it out, you know, with some compressed air. Fortunately, you've got airbrush propellant. Probably most of you guys, you could blow it out if you needed to, but blow it out, get most of the water, and then hit it with some water displacing formula like WD-40, and you should be good. You know, there's no actual like physical contacts between, you know, the brushes and the commutators and all of that stuff. So you know, you're probably going to be fine unless you're running in a weird environment, you know, like a corrosive saltwater, high mineral content. You know, where was it we were running? Was it in Groton? Where was it that had that magnetic ferric
Groton
stuff in it?
It's Groton. It's Groton. Groton. It's got all the material, ferrous material that fell off the piping. It's even in the sand. It's so into the solution, it's in the sand.
Yeah.
I'd like to express a little caution about using any viscous oils or preservatives in a motor run in the wet. It acts to hold sand in place, whereas you want to blow sand out. If you've well lubricated this stuff or put in a water displacing goo, it's going to hold sand, and that sand is going to grind away between your magnets and your armature.
So there, you know, it maybe the easiest practice then in hindsight is just blow it out. Get all the water out as soon as it comes out of the water, and you're probably going to be fine.
What about washing it, flushing it with hose water?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, you probably want to rinse the algae out.
All you want is an enema, nothing else.
Okay, is this come clean time?
Coffee.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, this is Maury Knutson. I'm hardly a newbie, but I must admit, for the first time, I am electronics challenged. And I had my remote hooked up to my ESC. Everything was cool. Something happened. They blew the ESC, put a new one in, and now I am screwed. No connection, no juice, no nothing.
Now, are you getting voltage out of your remote switch?
I have voltage to the remote.
So from a troubleshooting perspective, the primary methodology that you want to do is the elimination of one potential issue at a time. You don't ever want to tackle it from a holistic perspective.
Right.
So start at the beginning. Battery. Do I have battery power? What's my voltage? Do I have correct voltage going
Everything.
to the unit? Because if you don't have sufficient voltage, the remote switch won't keep. So you need to have the 12 volts.
I have the wiring somewhat, the wiring is incorrect between the remote and the ESC.
There's really no, I mean, are you using our heavy duty remote switch, the little key fobby deal?
Yes.
So you can't really screw it up. It's just like two wires.
I had it. Everything was great. Somehow the ESC blew, put a new one in. Can't figure it out.
Again, I would go back. So the thing about those remote switches, obviously you can take it out of the box, which you probably did because otherwise it's huge. But you can put a multimeter on the outputs.
Yes.
So when you turn the power on, you should hear a click. The relay should click on.
When it works, yes.
Okay, so probably you've got voltage. You can check it with a multimeter. So you check the outputs. The grounds are common. The white is the output. Check it, and you should be in theory getting your 12 volts or whatever you're running. If it's a 3S, it'll be 11.1.
Yep.
If it's going from out of the switch and it's going into the ESC, but the ESC is not powering up, then really the only thing it could be would be the electronic speed controller. If it's not getting power, if it's not lighting up, there's an indicator light up. Is this like an M-Tronics, like a
Yeah,
Viper?
it's, I just got 2 new ones from you.
Then, and maybe it's a faulty ESC, Maureen.
Do you have 5 volts on the receiver bus? Yes or no?
Well, regardless though, Dave, if the ESC is getting 12 volts, even if it's not connected, a red light will come on. It'll be, yeah, I got power, but I can't hear anything from the transmitter.
Yeah, everything before was great. And again, I'm having issues with the motor, Bob. You and I have talked about this before. Everything was cool except for the motor. Pardon me, for the ballast pump. And so I got the new ESC in there, nothing.
It could be. Now, I've not had problems with the M-Tronics ESCs from a power perspective. I have had, for those of you that may have these units, lately I've been having problems with the onboard BECs. I've been having problems with the onboard BECs powering up the receiver, and I've been having to remove that center red pin and use a standalone BEC unit. Now, the sub 10 is rated at 3 amps. In theory, you'll be driving it fine, but I've had problems with them not working. So if that's
I got 2 of them from you, and the only thing I can think of is to take this one out and start over again with the second one.
Well, and I think your methodology is correct. If you swap it out and the second one works, then it's an issue with the first one. You send it back, and we'll.
Yeah, I'll keep you informed. It's just been very frustrating. That's all.
Welcome
Well,
welcome to the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Okay. But nevertheless, I thought I'd share that with you, and I appreciate it, and I'll let you know.
Absolutely. No, this is good to share. And like I said, the lesson to take away from this, when you have an issue, like, you have no idea how frustrating it is when I get customers like, my cylinder doesn't work. Like, what the hell does that mean? The cylinder doesn't work. Like, you take steps. You start at the beginning. Is my battery good? Well, what does the battery goes in? It goes into the switch. Is the switch good? Yes. Where does the switch go? It goes into my speed controller. Is the speed controller good? Okay. To the receiver, right? You just follow the chain down until you find the issue. So
check your fuses and check your fuses.
Oh,
good point. And they're good. I got a fuse checker. That was the first thing I thought of.
Just jumper it. Just jam a screwdriver in.
And by the way, I'm using 15 amp fuses. Are those the right ones, or should I be using 10?
I use 15. It depends on the boat. The small cylinders that you're.
Well, it's the upholder.
Yeah, I'd say 15 would be fine. When you think about it, that motor at full tilt may be pulling 4 amps, and if you had every single servo going at the same time, maybe that's another 2 or 3 amps if they're under load. But what you're protecting against is a short, and when that short happens, that's what you want that to blow.
Okay, thank you, and I'll keep you informed, Bob.
Very good.
This is Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, guys. All right, I got a question. I'm starting to move along here, and I'm working on my bow planes on a Baleo class. So I've got a 1/48 scale Baleo here that I'm working on. And I was watching the videos on how to set this up so that I can get the retracts to work.
Okay.
Like so. And what I'm trying to figure out at the moment with this is that in order to get it to retract all the way, it's a little bit over an inch of travel that it takes. So with the gears, it's a pretty big gear. I'm running out of space, and my linkage has to travel over the top of the gear, over the center line.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if I'm going about this the right way with the limited space I've got up front, if using that gear type of setup to rotate this up, like I saw in one of your videos that you had, Bob,
Yep, yep.
if I maybe need to look at something different to be able to do this, or am I on the right track?
Did you hear what he said, Dave? He said he had limited space in that 48 scale Gato. I'm just,
It seems
I'm
really
messing
weird
with
to
you,
say
Chris.
that, doesn't it?
Guys, I got to check out early. I just had family walk in the door, so I'll catch you on the next meeting.
Yep, you bet.
Yeah, I'll watch the rest of it later.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Chris, you know, there's a few different solutions in there. You can go with a non-scale location. The closer to the hinge point you are, the less travel you would need to do. So that would be less scale if you're going for true scale fidelity, and provided it's at the correct location on the.
So here.
Yeah. If you moved it in closer, obviously it would require less.
Okay.
Travel, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I've got
Um,
some room to move it there. Absolutely.
So that would be one potential solution, and then the other, you know, Dave's probably goofed around with her tracks more than I have, but the ones that I've played with for the most time, they've been set up already, so I haven't had to mess with them. Gears are nice because then you get perfectly you know, equal travel for both because they're obviously meshed together. But you could certainly go with, you know, a pair of arms, and then you could set up as much travel as you wanted to.
Okay.
What I, you know, honestly, what I would do is take your measurements and put it on a piece of paper, draw it out. And so you've got measurements, and you'll be able to see exactly how far, you know, that travel needs to happen. And then you can put a linkage arm, you could put, you know, a gear, you could put whatever you want, and just work out the math, because that's all this is. It's math, it's geometry, right?
Yep.
And see what the best solution is going to be in the real estate that you've got to work with.
Make a 2-dimensional model out of cardboard, lay it on a table, and then find the diameter of your proposed gears, and then determine the travel required to move your operating shaft to get the 90-degree motion you need. Mock
Okay,
it
I
up,
can do that.
mock it up first. That'll tell you how big your gear's got to be.
Make a model of the model.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I can do that.
I know,
and then
I know an idiot who did it just that way, and it worked fine.
Okay, I'll start there. And then I got one other quick question on this.
Yep.
So I'm working with a little brass sleeve here. If I can see if I can show you this over here.
All right,
So
that's your bushing. That's a
yep,
oil
so that's my
impregnated
bushing.
bronze bushing.
How tight does my shaft need to be in there? Like, I'm thinking forward to when this is in the water and you're trying to move the control surfaces. Do I want it to be fairly tight?
You want
So
a
that I don't get a
non-interference
bunch of
fit.
wiggle? Interference fit.
Non-interference fit. You want a tolerance of between 1 and 2 thousandths.
Okay.
It should,
I can work
so
with that too.
translation, it should be snug. It should not rattle around whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I was thinking, because right now it rattles a little bit. And I was thinking, nah, I'm gonna have to do some more work on that to tighten it up.
Yeah,
I need a different diameter bushing, maybe.
They call that a slip fit.
Yeah, I was thinking I need to actually go get some telescoping brass rod or tube to work with.
I've had great luck just using brass tube, to be honest. You just want to make sure, and I've talked about this before at earlier dive tribes, you do not want to mix like aluminum tube with brass tube, because the two unlike metals will create an electrochemical reaction in there, and you create corrosion and it'll seize. So brass shaft, brass tube, The good thing about everything in the hobby, they all nest, right? Everything nests. And so you can use that 5/32, I think it's 5/32 nested into 1/8, I think. And it's perfectly tight, but frictionless. So I would really recommend, examining something like that. It looked like that bushing that you had might have been like 3/16 or so. It was huge.
Yeah.
Those control surfaces, typically like a 1/8 shaft is pretty common.
Okay.
Which, I mean, there's 1/8 bushings. I offer them on the site, so you could tighten that right up if that'll work.
Yeah, I think I got to go that direction instead of using what I had.
The other thing that you can use, if you got like a big hole, and it would be a pain in the ass to like fill the big hole to put a brass tube, a wheel collar, a plated wheel collar works really good as a bushing as well.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks, guys. That'll keep me moving.
All right.
Hey, David,
Hmm.
I finally got the Z cuts on the Jimmy Carter all done up, so I got a pretty good fit on it now. Almost no seam at all.
Boy, that was a nightmare, wasn't it?
Yeah, even along the side here, I got it all fitting real good, nice and smooth.
Was
Nice.
good, Glenn.
Yeah, I don't know, you can't really tell in the video, but it's almost no gap at all in there.
Good, good.
I'm actually starting now to get all the ballast tank openings all done in there as well.
All right, Dwayne, there's one thing I want you to do for me.
What's that?
Wait for the sun to come out and leave it out under the sun in the afternoon, and then tell me how it looks.
Warm up a little bit?
A little bit. That'll, if you will, stress relieve it.
Well,
Don't
Dave,
no
being
stress
nice.
whatsoever. It'll be very relaxed.
well,
I'm surprised
we had to do a lot
Dave
to the
didn't tell him
upper
to
half.
spray it black.
Well, we had to do a lot to the upper half to get it to joint to come in line with the lower half.
Well, you've done a good job. By the way, Dwayne was in my place for about a week, and we worked on this beast of his. And he's an accomplished hand. If you don't know, over at Model Warships Underway, he does 196 aircraft carriers, and he just doesn't throw them together. They're beautiful looking presentation pieces, and they're entirely practical. He knows his shit. Okay, Dwayne, I'm done kissing your ass. Know where to send the
Okay.
tip.
So
But you made my wife's up on that one.
Steve, have you started printing your 48th Seawolf yet?
Right after I get done with Daryl's 1/6 hecht, and I'm probably 2/3 done with it. So shortly.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new here. I just kind of want to introduce myself. I got a couple of small projects going. My name's Craig Heller.
Yeah, good to see you.
I've talked to you before. I've got one of the flying subs that I started without any experience at all.
Okay.
I still have very little experience, so I'm still playing with it. But I've got your Hydra sub being printed right now.
Okay.
So I don't have any stupid questions right now, but I'm sure I will.
So I've got a flying sub, a 32nd scale flying sub project queued up. And then I've got one of the big 82-inch or whatever Teskey or not Teskey. DeBoer sea views queued up as well. So just in case anybody's interested, DeBoer, Dennis, he's been doing this for a long time and he has beautiful, beautiful models, but he's at this point in his life where, he's got other stuff to do. This is like way on the back burner. I sold a couple of kits after I, talked to him, and it's like 4 and 5 month production times on them. He kind of works on them as he can, as he feels like it. So I talked this customer that had placed an order in from the 58-inch to this big 80-inch sea view that I picked up out of the UK. So I'm going to be building that out for this customer. But for Craig, for you, I've got that 30-second flying sub, which is the second boat that this guy wanted. I think it'll be a fairly quick build. You know, I'm not going to be putting any ballast system in it. It's just going to be a dynamic diver. You drop it in and it's going to scoot around like a little, you know, rocket underneath the water. So if you watch, you know, over the course of the next, you know, month or two, you'll see that project hit the bench, and I'll obviously share
How
it.
big is that going to be?
The flying sub?
Yeah.
I think it works out to, you know, yay-ish big, like 14 inches wide or something like that.
I think that's the exact size of it, is 14. I got a couple of jet drives in it and I'm running the motors wet.
There you go.
But just don't put it anywhere where there's sand. It's a pool toy. It's not, it go up in Georgia, all right.
Yep, absolutely.
I did have one other question though. I was kind of curious. Whatever happened to your two fantasy subs, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and the Star Wars?
So if you follow on my newsletter or on Facebook, you'll have seen that the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Nautilus met an untimely death. It was on the shelf on display proudly in our showroom, and our AC had gone out, so we had our doors open. We had a very, let's call it a stiff breeze come through, and it blew it off the shelf, and it fell about 5 feet to a tile floor and smashed into about like 8 pieces.
Okay.
But, you know, and obviously it hurts to see like 100 hours worth of work, you know, kind of down the drain, not including the print time. It was just assembly time. But in hindsight, you know, knowing everything I know now and the new technologies out and that kind of thing, now I'm like, this just gives me an opportunity to do it again, but bigger. Like I'm gonna make it like 6 feet long instead of like 3.5 feet long, because now I'll have room to work, because that thing was only like 2 inches wide the whole way up until you got to the back. It'll be reborn again, but unfortunately it's there's bits and pieces lying I think in a box somewhere. Maybe Jason took them home or something, but
I took them home and I'm in the process of fixing them right now.
Okay, there we go.
Did you ever finish the Star Wars sub?
No, that was my son's project, and as much as I would like to take it over, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm not going to do it for you. If you want it done, you're gonna sit your ass down and you're gonna finish it out and build it. So that's what we're gonna do. But in hindsight, you know, we made some decisions when it came to propulsion. We got kind of fancy. I think we may, if we ever revisit it, switch up the propulsion a little bit to maybe something a little less ornamental and more functional. But he's back. We're picking him up next weekend from college, so he'll be back for like almost 3 months. So if I can convince him to sit down and work on it, maybe we'll get that thing wet.
Bob, I have 2 questions, being a newbie. Number one, remember I told you that I was switching from those lead acid batteries that I have mounted on the sides of the Seaview, and I'm thinking of going nickel metal hydride. Now, in your last thing that I saw, you had one that was in the shape of a rod. Now, I've been online looking for that because that'll fit perfect. It looked like about 1.25 inches diameter or something like that.
Yep.
How do you get them all in line like that? Do you buy the little small ones and then solder them together?
So yeah, that is a home built battery. So when you can buy nickel metal hydride cells, you know, they come in like A cells and C cells and D cells. These are C cell nickel metal hydride packs, and you just literally stack them together.
So they add up to 12 volts.
They add up to 12 volts, and you heat shrink them and add your cables and seal up the ends, and you're done.
Okay. Now my other question is, you just hit a spot. You're making a big sea view. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, now, when you do the intakes on the top side of those tubes, the thrust tubes, are they gonna be separate?
The pieces will be, because they'll be inserts. I won't be cutting in and trying to ferret all that out. There'll be obviously some cosmetic, what's the word?
Departures.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is there gonna be 48 scale louvers available to buy?
Well, in theory, once the files are done, you can make them whatever scale you want, right?
Okay.
Now,
Bob,
those
you're making them
those-
available, right?
Those shark
Making-
gills on the side, those are fine for scale effect. But if you want to be practical, you got to open things up near the keel. So
Yeah,
you can get-
my underside is all open. There's plenty.
You're fine.
They're just for show.
Yeah.
Bob, you're gonna make those files, because we both have the same scale boat, and I need to replace mine. He originally cast them out of epoxy with no support, and they shatter over time.
Right.
So I'm hoping you're gonna draw them out and make the files available.
Yeah, we'll work together on it. Sure. I mean, it's
Got
not like I'll make a commercial project out of it. Like I'd probably sell like 2 in 5 years, but
All right.
No, I'll buy 4.
And I bet you'll have yours in the water before Frank's.
Well, just so you know, I just poured the rubber over. I just carved them, but I want to see what they'll look like, 3D printed. But I just poured the mold to cast my own out of polyurethane. So we'll see how they come out. Like I said, they don't have to be functional because I have so much opening on the bottom, and I made them all out of brass on the bottom. So there's plenty. I mean, I tried it in that test tank and it threw water like you would not believe. And it's so open that even in reverse, I have plenty of reverse power all through the bottom. So
there you go.
I'm happy.
Yeah, a super unique boat. It'll be interesting because I played with the little one, the little Mobius, was it 1/128th, weird ass scale, 39-inch boat, and they've got their design characteristics. I'm interested though to see what it's like 80 inches long.
Well, mine's 100. Mine's 104.
I don't care about yours. I only care about mine.
The only one I worry about is what's his name? Oh geez, I'm getting old. I forget a lot of things now. But the guy that does the big subs, he's
Steve.
Steve, that's it. He's my only
competitor for the large submarine. Well, once he finishes that big Seawolf or whatever, he may have us like, unless someone buys that big missile boat off eBay. Is that still up there? Did anybody notice? It's like 10 feet long.
Wow. Yeah, 8 is all I want to go now. It's so hard to transport them, but the next thing will be experimenting with bayonet fittings so that I can take them down in half. And then when I get to the pond or whatever, just put them together quick, relatively quick, and go from there, because that would save a lot of hassle.
Hey, Frank, you don't have competition with Steve. Steve gets his boats in the water.
In all fairness, I'm a newbie.
Frank's boat's been in the water. He sent me a picture.
That's right. And I
I want to
just
see it in Lake Ronkonkoma.
I just tried out my missile system. So the first one I did, it didn't work too good. So I just did this new one it's the old fashioned water in the rocket with a little air, and it pushes the water out the bottom. Well, this thing went about 20 feet above the trees, straight as an arrow. I just got to tone it down a little bit. I only want to go 30 feet. This was like 70 feet.
You'll
But it
shoot
looked
your
great.
eye out, kid.
What's
Take some pictures. Take some pictures and video of that.
Well,
Frank.
video of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Frank, share that stuff.
No
That's what
video,
we'll-
it didn't happen.
Hey guys.
Well, ask my neighbor. It landed in his yard.
Rick just sent this to me. This is the guts, I'm presumably of a boat that he built. This is the Mobius kit, right? The flying sub.
Ooh.
Yes,
It looks like it.
it is.
So this is this the infamous these pumps that all you Canadians had, those pumps that you got from like Princess Auto that everybody
Yes.
was raving about?
Yes,
Yeah, so this is a pump drive, and then I assume you just tilt these nozzles at the back for your pitch control, right?
yes.
Yeah, there you go. Central watertight cylinder, super simple.
Are those reversible pumps?
No,
Why would you need to reverse if you got independent control? You're basically spinning on your own axis,
If
right?
you could, then you could use the forward intakes as discharges for asymmetrical thrust. You could turn in place like a tank on treads.
there are 4 pumps in there right now.
Oh, so you have the ability to thrust forward.
Oh, so you're pulling water from the
No
interior.
shit.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Well, then this thing is quite capable.
I sent you 4 pumps, Dave.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean we're married, for Christ's sakes. I get all
Where's
sorts of
the-
shit.
Where's the video? We want the video.
I've already done the FS1 dance.
I know. Bigger.
And I blame Rick Diskey.
Hey, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everybody. I'm Howard.
You guys need to listen up. This is a cool project that we're working on together. Some of you will be interested in this.
Yeah, so I was like all of you, loved subs as a kid, and I work in Hollywood. And anyway, about 20 years ago, I was a subcommittee member. I'd just gotten out of grad school and bought a boat. I bought the Albacore, the original one. They went up to San Francisco and saw it in the subcommittee was having a regatta up there, and bought it off Skip SA, and it was really cool. And then I had 2 children and my career took off and I never finished it. I finally sold it, much to my regret. And then life changed, and then I reached out to Bob this year, and I always wanted to finish that project, so to speak, because the Albacore is, I think, kind of, some of you may disagree, one of the coolest boats that was ever made. And we kind of dreamed this up, Bob and I, this kind of ultimate dream Albacore, and I went out to the museum up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in March, and I hired I'm fairly used to scanning because you deal a lot with it in special effects. So we scanned the whole boat down to its smallest detail. And our exchange with the museum was to let us do this is they're now in the process of a capital campaign. And we're going to give them the scan of the boat, which they can use then. You can turn it around, look at it from any angle, zoom in on the parts of it. And so now we have a historically 100% accurate scan of the entire boat and all its pieces. And we're building, right now it's 48 scale. I don't know if we'll have to go slightly bigger because of some of our ambitions, but we're building this boat. It's gonna be pretty cool. We're doing, as we build it, since we have the scan, we're taking it all apart, all the deck pieces and everything, and they're put into a CAD model. So we can output everything to be, laser etched parts or actually molded parts independently. And we're going to have it a mold cut from this. Bob, what's the right word? The reverse mold.
The master pattern, yeah, exactly. So let's back up a little bit, just because I want to make sure people understand what Howard has done here, because it's blowing my mind. So he approached me. He said, "I want a super awesome Albacore model." And initially we were talking about the Subtech version. I'm like, maybe not the best boat to start with, if you're looking for a super awesome Albacore. And then when we started talking about what the sort of features that he wanted, we determined it needed to be a little more sizable. And obviously there's nothing on the market right now. in I guess typical Howard fashion, as I'm coming to learn, this passion sort of took off, and not only did we get all of this resource material, some of which David provided, thank you very much, but he's like, well, I want the best, and so he contracted with a company to actually utilize a drone that did a 3D scan of the albacore. So it used a drone, and it collected something like 1.5 million data points of reference on this hull. And so every aspect of it, right down to the smallest, nick, ding, and deformation is in there, to the point where if you zoom in, you can actually see the thickness of the painted on numbers. The paint you can see where they painted the numbers on. So this will be undoubtedly, because it has to be, the most accurate model of the albacore ever created, because it's taken from the actual albacore. The company is going to smooth things out, so it's not like the beat up version that's currently the the museum. It'll be as built. And then the idea is to leverage technology, use some CNC machining to perfectly duplicate or replicate those 3D files in a physical master pattern that we would then mold and create, a hull out of.
It's going to cut a tool, or it's going to cut a master? Which one?
It's going to cut the master pattern, and then into the master pattern we'll do all of the extraneous scribing and detail parts, and then do a rubber tool. Yep, it'll be a rubber jacket with a hard shell.
I'm sorry, what scale are you looking at?
Right now we're talking 48 scale, but honestly, the beauty of digital design is you just pick, right? What do you want, and then you just switch the number and out it comes. 48 scale obviously it's like common. It's a common scale. The next common scale is 32nd scale. Now we're talking a little crazy. That'd be a big boat, although super exciting.
Now the end product is going to be a GRP hull, right?
Correct.
Excellent.
Yep. It'll be a hand laid fiberglass hull.
And we're talking phase 4, right? Where she's currently.
Well, here's just to get not everybody's knickers in a twist. So I noticed I carefully said green albacore. It is the phase 4, but because I'm doing this, I'm putting a lot of resources into this. Now my kids are off of college, we sold our house. I decided, well, I really want to do this. So I am adding, I know it's heresy, I am adding the retractable biofilm, which we're not on the phase 4. Just because I think they look cool and I wanted to try them. So we're going to do that. And I know they're not going to improve performance, or they may even cause some issues, but it's more, hey, it's my sub, it's fun. So
I want those contour rotating props at 148 scale. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, the output data from those props, I mean, they're based on the ones, they're the actual ones. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And once we have the data available, I'll leave it to Bob, but it's certainly going to be available to everyone.
That's going to move water. It's going to move water.
It's going to and the cool thing about it, obviously, as everybody knows, those X-tail rudders means that even a boat of considerable size, it'll turn really, really nicely. So it'll be manageable, in the water. And what Howard was saying, his boat will have the bow planes, but in theory, if we do this properly, we could create phase 1 through phase 4, because it's just parts, right, that are basically interchangeable.
Yeah, and so that's the idea. So it's I did my part for the museum. They had the one without the bow planes. They have it as it is, with all the nicks and dents and bumps and the paint the way it exists currently. And they're going to use that for their fundraising and their new museum they're going to build. They're on a capital campaign to build a whole new big museum.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you know what's bad about this, Mr. Martin?
No.
I already said I bought my glass boat, but apparently not.
Well,
This is a nice project you two are putting together.
Yeah, we have some other things.
At Howard's prompting, it's causing my brain to move in directions that it wouldn't normally go. We've got some pretty interesting features that, to the best of my knowledge, have not yet been implemented in RC Submarine, and I'll leave it at that. But it's going to be pretty cool.
So anyway, thank you guys for listening to all that. I appreciate it, and I love just being, you know, a lurker and just absorbing all this, because there's so much to learn. And I just, you know, those videos Bob says are boring, I just watch them over and over again. Anyway, thank you.
Aren't those the same screws that the Jack used, David?
No,
Okay. I know they're there. I didn't know whether they're the same screws.
the counter rotating on the same axis is the same, but the wheels are different.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Dave recommends automotive paint for the black paint on the hulls. Does anyone else?
Stop right there. Stop right there. But
what automotive black paint? Is there a certain brand?
well, I'll give you a straight answer. The paint I use is no longer available because California saw to it that the industry went to water soluble automotive paints. So I can't give you a straight answer. Just go to your local automotive refinishing supply house and tell them you need a 2-pack paint. In other words, one that requires an accelerator, and they'll tell you what's current. And you got a choice either between Dow Corning or Sherwin-Williams. So find out the distributor for Dow Corning and what is currently available.
Dow Corning.
Yeah.
Black, of course, right? But you can't. It has to be flat, right? Or does it come flat?
No. When you do your clear coat, that's when you go flat, and you have to buy a discrete flattening agent.
Okay.
They're going to have pamphlets up the kazoo on the products they sell. So you get your pamphlets, you take a look at them, and it'll tell you all about flattening the clear coat and all about color mixing and cure times and everything you need to know about the physical properties of the paint.
I need to admit, I've never used, aside from the primer, like the 2-part polyurethane primers, automotive paints, the 2-part. What is the viscosity like? Like is that because on cars, obviously we're talking about like a 16-foot long vehicle as opposed to a 3-foot long submarine. Is this paint like thick? Is it going to obscure details or?
Once you, and again, I'm talking about the old polyurethane 2-pack. It has mixed before you cut it. It's got the consistency of milk as far as viscosity, but you can cut it with lacquer thinner to any viscosity you want, right down to water. And it'll go down on a small model very well. Now, I can't speak to the water soluble. I only have to assume it's the same deal physically as far as cutting, thinning, and mixing. But this is new to me too. I haven't gone to the water solubles yet. I haven't used up my old urethanes.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on your gun too.
That's right. And you want to use a touch-up gun on the bigger models, not the Pashai 8. You need a touch-up gun. And to the automotive industry, that's a small gun. To us, it's a big gun.
Yeah, that does the best.
And you can get them dirt cheap at Harbor Freight, about $20. It's almost a throwaway.
Those like the little small purple ones they have, like purple in color.
Yeah, in the real criteria you're interested in is nozzle diameter. You want a nozzle that's 1 millimeter or less. There you go, Frank. Show it to them.
You see,
Show
You
them
hold
now.
it like this. You hold it like this.
There you go.
This one happens to be an old one. It's a screw on, but they have the kind with the thing on top that pulls it tight.
Get a
But
gravity feed. Yeah, get a gravity feed if you can
Yeah.
out there. Amazon's got all sorts of kind of gun, and get one like Frank just showed you, but make it a gravity feed.
Cool. All right, I need to go, guys, but as usual, you can hang out and talk. Anything for me before I take off on you?
You get working on those louvers.
Yeah. It's on my to-do list.
Good.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget, it's Mother's Day. All right, it's just a warning.
He knows where I'll be.
To all the
All
mothers.
right.
Bob. So long, Bob.
See you later.
All right, guys. See you next time.